Kevin and Diana earn the same salary, $68,000 per year. They graduated from the same university the same year with identical student loan balances, $22,000 at 6.5% interest. They are both 32. They work at the same company, receive the same 4% employer 401k match, and carry the same monthly budget after rent, food, utilities, and their minimum loan payment of $249. At the end of every month, both of them have $500 left. 3 years ago, they had a conversation that most people who get serious about money eventually have. They looked at the $22,000 and decided what to do with the $500. Kevin chose to eliminate the debt first. Diana chose to invest the $500 immediately and pay the loan minimum. Here's the thing. This is the most common money debate in personal finance, and most people pick a side based on how debt makes them feel, not on what the numbers actually show when you run them completely. The numbers, when you account for every variable, produce a result that surprises most people regardless of which side they started on. This video runs the full calculation. Let's start with Kevin. Kevin added the full $500 to his $249 minimum. Total monthly payment, $749 against a $22,000 balance at 6.5%. At that rate, the loan disappeared in 26 months. His 10-year repayment timeline became just over 2 years. Total interest paid, approximately $2,700, less than half what he would have paid on the standard schedule. For those 26 months, Kevin invested nothing. The decision was intentional. He wanted a zero balance before he deployed any capital into the market. He watched the market move during those months and did not participate. He made his last loan payment in month 26, and on month 27, he redirected the full $749, his entire former loan payment, into his employer's 401k and a supplemental brokerage account. But here's what. Kevin made one critical error at the start, one that cost him more than his debt versus investing choice itself. He did not contribute to his 401k at all during those 26 months. His employer offered a 4% match on a $68,000 salary. That match was worth $2,720 per year, $227 per month. By not contributing enough to capture the match during the 26-month payoff window, Kevin forfeited approximately $5,900 in employer contributions. That $5,900 invested from month 1 at 10% annualized, it would have grown to approximately $7,200 by month 60. He returned to his employer match at month 27. He did not fully register the cost of that gap until he ran the numbers 2 years later. From month 27 through month 60, 34 months, Kevin invested $749 per month. At 10% annualized, that 34-month block compounded to approximately $29,200. He finished year 5 with $29,200 in invested assets and zero outstanding debt. Kevin's 5-year net worth contribution from the strategy, $29,200. Now let's look at Diana. Diana paid her $249 minimum every month for the full 5 years. She did not add a dollar to the loan beyond the minimum. Instead, she invested the full $500 surplus from month 1, and she contributed enough to her 401k to capture the full employer match from the start. Her total retirement contribution, including the match, was approximately $567 per month, and her $500 surplus went into a taxable brokerage account. For direct comparison to Kevin, Diana's $500 invested monthly from month 1 through month 60 at 10% annualized compounded to approximately $38,800 at month 60. Here's the thing. Diana paid more in interest, over 60 months of minimum payments on $22,000 at 6.5%. Diana paid approximately $5,900 in total interest, $3,200 more than Kevin. At month 60, she also still carries a remaining loan balance of approximately $11,400. That balance is a liability that reduces her total net worth. Diana's 5-year position, $38,800 in investments, minus $11,400 in remaining debt. Adjusted net worth contribution, $27,400. 1. Kevin is ahead by $1,800 at the 5-year mark, when the outstanding debt is included in the net worth calculation. Diana has more money in her investment account. Kevin has more total net worth. Those are not the same numbers, and most people in this debate are comparing the account balance on the left without the debt balance on the right. And here's the part that changes when you extend the horizon. The 5-year comparison favors Kevin when you account for Diana's remaining debt. The 10-year comparison shifts. Diana's first dollar entered the market at month 1. Kevin's first dollar entered at month 27. Every dollar Diana invested in months 1 through 26 had 27 additional months of compounding over Kevin's equivalent investment. On a long enough timeline, the earlier market entry compounds that advantage into a gap larger than the remaining debt balance creates. At 20 years, Diana's strategy, executed consistently, outperforms Kevin's by a margin driven by compounding time, not by the difference in interest paid. This is why standard financial planning tends to favor investing over debt elimination, when the debt interest rate falls below the expected market return. Time in the market is a compounding variable and earlier entry accumulates forward indefinitely. But here's what. The 20-year calculation assumes Diana invested $500 every month for 60 months without interruption. No emergency withdrawals. No missed contributions during months where the market was down 18%, and the loan balance felt heavier than the portfolio. The math assumes perfect behavioral execution across 5 years of variable conditions. That assumption is not automatically true. It is not automatically false. But it is doing real work inside the comparison. And most people presenting these numbers do not include it as a variable at all. Now, let's talk about the employer match. Because the employer match removes the ambiguity from this debate before it starts. Kevin and Diana's employer matches 4% of salary. On $68,000, that match is $2,720 per year. The match dollars are free compensation, deposited only when the employee contributes at or above the threshold. Here's the thing. An employer match is a 100% guaranteed immediate return on every contributed dollar up to the match limit. Not 10%, not 6.5%, 100%. A dollar contributed toward the match immediately becomes $2 before any market return is applied. No debt interest rate at any realistic level competes with a 100% immediate return. The math on this is not close. Credit card debt at 21% is the highest consumer debt rate most people encounter. And a 21% guaranteed return on debt repayment is still less than the 100% immediate return on a matched 401k contribution. The financially correct sequence is contribute enough to capture the full employer match first. Whatever remains after that contribution is the amount subject to the debt versus investing calculation. Directing any dollar toward debt repayment before the match is fully captured is trading a 100% guaranteed return for a 6.5% guaranteed return. There is no financial framework in which that trade is justified. Kevin's decision to stop all 401k contributions during his 26-month payoff window cost him approximately $5,900 in forfeited employer money, $7,200 in compounded value by month 60. That cost exceeded the $1,800 net worth advantage he held over Diana at year 5. The debt payoff strategy that looked like a win at the 5-year mark reversed once the match forfeiture was included in the calculation. This is the most common math error in the debt versus investing debate, comparing debt payoff against market investing while treating the employer match as part of the same category. The match is not part of the comparison. It sits above it. It is resolved first. And here's the part that explains where the real answer lives: the interest rate spread. The debt versus investing question has a mathematical resolution, and the resolution changes based on one input: the spread between the debt interest rate and the expected investment return. Below 5% debt interest, the historical expected return of a total market index fund, approximately 10% annualized over 30-year periods, outperforms the guaranteed return on debt repayment by 5 or more percentage points annually. The math favors investing, and the advantage compounds over time. Federal student loans pre-2020 averaged 3.5% to 4.5%. Most 30-year mortgages from 2010 to 2021 fell in this range. Carrying these debts while investing surplus capital is not financially reckless. It is mathematically favorable when the return spread is real and the execution is consistent. Above 8% debt interest, the guaranteed return on elimination outperforms the expected market return on a risk-adjusted basis. Credit card debt at 21%, private student loans at 10% to 12%, personal loans at 14%. These rates produce guaranteed returns on repayment that exceed reasonable equity return projections with certainty rather than probability. The math does not produce ambiguity in this range. It produces a directive. Between 5% and 8% is a genuine gray zone. Kevin and Diana's 6.5% student loan debt falls in the middle. The expected market return historically outperforms 6.5%, but with variance, not certainty. A guaranteed 6.5% return versus an expected 10% return with real downside risk is not a clean mathematical win for investing. It is a trade-off between certainty and expected value. And how that resolves depends on the individual's risk tolerance, time horizon, and behavioral consistency under pressure. Here's the thing. Most people arguing about this topic are debating the gray zone without knowing the zone exists. They have picked a side based on whether debt feels heavy or whether compound growth feels exciting, not on where their specific interest rate falls on the spectrum. So what does the real math actually show? 3 things. And none of them are always pay the debt or always invest first. First, the employer match is not part of the debate. It precedes it. Before the debt versus investing question applies at all, the match should be fully captured. A 100% guaranteed return is the highest yield move available to most employed people. No debt interest rate, no investment return projection, no strategy framework justifies forfeiting it. Contribute enough to capture the full match. Assess what remains. Then have the debt versus investing conversation. Second, the interest rate determines the correct answer. Not the balance, not how the debt feels, not what worked for someone else at a different rate. Below 5%, investing the surplus is mathematically sound, and the compounding advantage accumulates over time. Above 8%, elimination is the highest return use of available capital, and the math is not ambiguous. Between 5% and 8%, the answer is an honest evaluation of risk tolerance and behavioral reliability, not a recitation of what personal finance orthodoxy recommends. Third, behavioral execution is a real input that does not appear on a spreadsheet. The research on this is consistent. People carrying outstanding debt are statistically more likely to make lower quality financial decisions across a range of unrelated categories. Not because of discipline failure, but because cognitive load affects decision quality. For some people, eliminating a balance clears enough mental runway to execute better on every subsequent financial decision for the next decade. For others, carrying a below 8% loan while investing from month 1 produces more total wealth because the execution holds, and the compounding advantage accumulates. Which of those is true for any individual is not determinable from the outside. Chandra Kevin finished month 26 debt-free and felt the financial floor solidify under his life for the first time. That clarity was real, and it shaped every financial decision he made afterward with less noise and more confidence. Diana finished year 5 with more invested capital, more interest paid, more debt remaining, and a compounding clock that started 26 months earlier than Kevin's. They are not in different places because one of them worked harder. They are in different places because they made different bets on a real trade-off, with different assumptions about which variables would dominate. The real math does not say one of them is right. It says the answer changes when you check the interest rate, capture the employer match first, and account for how you actually behave when the market drops and the balance is still there. You already know those three things about your situation. The $500 is just waiting for the answer. New breakdowns drop here regularly, so subscribe if you don't want to miss the next one. And drop the topic you want us to break down next in the comments. We're reading, and the most requested ones are the ones we cover first